Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Nikki here, and if you've been around here for a little while, you would have seen the video of how I made this very simple junk journal for a year-long project I am participating in. Last month I showed you how I made some corner pockets that I sent to my swap partner, and I have a different swap partner for this month, and we have to make 4 hidden paper clips. So I thought I'll turn the camera on and we'll make some hidden paper clips together. So I have got my little bases ready. What I might do, what if I bring you in a bit closer? That might be a good idea. So when I make hidden paper clips, I like to use a paper that's not too thin but not too thick. If you use heavy duty cardstock, your hidden paper clips can really start to get a bit bulky. So I sort of use, this is a bit of old scrapbooking paper that is sort of a medium weight. I find that perfect. I like to use smaller clips rather than the really big ones because they're also not as bulky. So I've prepped 4 of these. I've put a little bit of glue just on the back to hold them in place. When they get inserted into the decorated bits, then they will get glued down properly. And you will also see I have popped in a little bit of baking paper so that when I put all the glue around and insert it into the decorated top, if any of the glue sort of just creeps out the side, I can just gently slide the baking paper out and it will stop it from all sticking together. So there is the 4 bases. They're ready to go. Now, let's see. The very first one is a bit of a cheats version. I found this, oh no, before I go there, my swap partner, hang on, let me find where I've written it down. She likes pink and purple, and I just don't want to show you her address, so I'm sort of keeping this off the screen. But she loves natural colours, pink and purple, flowers, butterflies, and fairies. Cannot believe 2 months in a row I have got someone that loves purple, and I have virtually no purple in my stash. I discovered that last month when I had to include purple. So unfortunately, she's not getting much purple, but I have a couple of little bits that you will see down the track. But I did find this little journal card in my stash. It has pinks involved. There's no purple, but at least there's pink. And there's a butterfly and a bit of sparkly stuff. And I thought this would be perfect for a hidden paper clip. Now, of course, it's just a journaling card, so you can't create a hidden paper clip that way. So I grabbed some cardstock and I picked this particular piece because on the back side, she'll just have this vine running through, which she can then decorate to suit the page she's doing. I tend to, because I'm making these for someone else, I won't decorate the back sides. I will keep them on the plainer side, except for one, and I'll show you that shortly. And so, oops, oh dear, I got a bit carried away there, didn't I? That's okay. I've got this paintbrush handy for something I want to do down the track. Actually, I'll get to that later. How about I grab a spatula? I've got a bit carried away. This glue tends to do this. The weather's warm and I find my favourite glue, my tiger glue, can get a little bit carried away in coming out when it's warm. So I've got way too much glue there, but that's sort of fixed that problem for now. And we're simply going to glue this on top, and then I'll let it dry for a minute and I will just trim it down to the perfect size. I will also round the corners. And then when this is completely dry, I will, of course, insert this part. Now, I like to decorate mine before I put them all together. Main reason being is the paper clip does create some lumps. And when you try and press down on your deco pieces, sometimes it can leave marks. Look, you'll probably end up with some marks anyway, but I find them easier to make without it. So I decorate all my top bits, and then of course I insert the paper clip. So we'll let that one dry just for now, but as you can see, I have the spot to insert the paper clip part, and that can now just dry, and we'll move quickly on to the next one. Now, another problem I had, a lot of my stash is in storage still. That includes a lot of my die cuts, and unfortunately, I knew I had some fairy die cuts, but I have none with me. So thankfully, what I did have in my stash was this gorgeous little birthday book, which is Australian Flower Fairy Verse. And I loved these ones on the cover, so I've decided to use them. I tore it out. I have fussy cut it just to make things a bit quicker. I've done a lot of the fussy cutting and stuff already. So luckily I had that with me, so at least we can have some fairies. Now, my base for this one is from a masterboard I made ages ago, and I quite like this. It was a bit of sparkly gold on a piece of serviette that was included in its creation. So I think this will be perfect as a base for my fairies. Now, what we're going to do is just use normal glue stick and an old magazine to glue these down. These are not very thick, so I don't need to use any sort of glue that's any fancier than just glue stick. I don't like using glue stick on thicker die cuts and things. I find it just doesn't always hold them down. And we're going to pop that, I think, right down in the corner there. That's that bit done. Now, I don't like this. I normally wouldn't worry about it, but these little words hiding up there at the top, they just don't look right. So I fussy cut out one flower that I could manage to get virtually a whole flower, and I want to stick that over there. So that will hide those words. Normally I wouldn't mind, but I just felt those two up there just looked a bit silly. So I think that looks much nicer. Then we'll just open this back up, and I decided to cut out both bits and use both for this instead of just the one side. I just thought it's such a waste. So let's give her both. Pardon me. Okay, and then we'll pop this down here. Now it's going to be tiny bit too big, but that's okay. When it has dried, I'll just give it a chance to dry properly. I'll just trim those off, because if they were thicker cardstock, I'd quite happily leave those hanging off bits there, because that actually can look quite cute. But because it's not that thick, they're going to get damaged, so I will trim those off. And I feel we need a little bit of something else, so I thought maybe we could add a little bit of glitter to this, seeing there's fairies involved. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue in the centers, and then we're going to put a tiny bit of glitter on. And when it has dried, I will dust it off. Now, I'm having a fight with my glue bottle here. The metal thin bit disappeared down in there somewhere. I have got a new one, but I just want to finish off this glue first. So I'm just going to flatten these little bits out a bit, because I don't want giant blobs. Try not to make these any thicker than they need to be, because if they're too chunky, they just fill up your junk journal so fast. So we've flattened it out a bit, and then we have some glitter, which I will just sprinkle on, and then when the glitter has dried, I will dust off the excess. So we just pop a tiny bit on each one. Oops, a daisy. Yes, tiny bit, Nick. Yep, that's great, sweetie. Nothing tiny about that. A little bit there. Bit more. So instead of wasting the glitter, I'll just dust it all off when it has dried, and we'll have some nice sparkle. I loved this because it's sort of a white holograph, but it's got a purpley blue tinge to it. So I thought that was a great match with my fairies. So same thing, we're just going to put that aside for the moment, get rid of this excess glitter because we don't want everything to be glitterified. And we're going to move on to the next one. Now, I decided to do a round one this time. This was the one piece of cardstock that I had that actually had purple and pink in it. So I only had this tiny little square. I thought it wasn't going to work doing it folded over, for example, like this one, because the piece wasn't big enough. So I thought, hang on, why not do a round one? So this one is also going to be done so that it can go onto the side of a page instead of them all being the top. So we'll do this one slightly differently. Now, I thought for a little bit of contrast, I've grabbed a couple of tiny little scraps of paper, which I will put down first, just to, because otherwise these, I feel my other little pieces may get a little lost in the deco there, because this is quite bold in colour. So I thought, right, we'll add a few little scraps and then just piece the other things around. A cute little butterfly. I'm sure we can make room for that, seeing she loves butterflies. So we'll glue that down, and I thought that should fit in there somewhere kind of nicely. And it does. Again, I'll just trim that tiny bit off when the glue has dried. And I like that you can still see that there. And then I also found this cute gold flower in my stash, but because it's made from like a paper mache arrangement, I am going to dab it on properly with my tiger glue, which I love using for all the things, but I'm not going to glue these down. They can just sit there and float a little bit. There we go. I think that should do. Oh, this is a little bit crooked. Let's gently shimmy that around a bit. Oh, okay, hang on a minute. Now I've got a crease in it. Let me quickly find one of my cards, and we'll try and nudge those out. Oh, there we go. That will do nicely. Just got to trim that tiny corner off. And again, I'm going to keep that side empty, so when it goes into her journal, she can then add any deco that she likes, or she can just leave it stripy plain. So that's number 3. And then number 4, I decided we will do a banner style one. Again, this was one tiny scrap that I had, another tiny scrap to make a second piece. But with this one, again, this is heavier cardstock, so I'll use a sort of a more decent glue rather than just glue stick, because it just doesn't hold down properly. And just to be different, we're not going to pop this right in the middle. I'm going to put it over to the side just for fun. Just press that down. This tiger glue dry, it gives you a little bit of time, but not too much. So you just sort of have time to shimmy things around. There we go. Now for deco, I thought I might pop a little butterfly stamp on. I don't know where this stamp came from. It's a stamp set I've had in my kit for ages. And I adore this ink. This is a Dewdrop. It's crimson copper. It almost has a bit of a purpley sheen to it. So I thought, right, let's add that in. So we're going to stamp one of those down there. And then, see, it's this gorgeous coppery colour that almost has a purple undertone. So I love that. Then I also found this stamp in my collection. I'm going to have to cover part of my butterfly, but that's okay. But can you see it has a slight purple tinge to the background? I thought, right, we're going to use that, even though it is quite large, but that's okay. So I don't even know if this is a real stamp or a fake one. I have no idea. But anyway, it's got a butterfly and it's got a little bit of purple, so we're going to use it. And I think we'll pop it right up in the top corner here. try not to smudge the butterfly I've just stamped on, even though this does dry very quickly. Now, the other thing I did have, where's it gone? How have I lost it? Hang on 1 minute, guys. I had a cute little number that I wanted to put on this, and now it has disappeared. It must have blown off. That's okay. What I will do, I will find it. I will add it to this. When these are dry, I will finish them all off, and I will be back when they're done. We'll see you soon. Okay, so they are done. This is the first one. The hidden paper clip has been glued inside, and I have trimmed all the edges. So just looking at it, it looks like a journal card, but it's a hidden paper clip. The next one is all finished. I found my little number. I've popped that on, and I think that looks really cute. So very happy with that one. And of course, here's the third one. Now I did, of course, I had to trim around the edge because my hidden paper clip thing was a bit too large, but I've just snipped that off and that worked fine. And then I thought I'd better show you how I actually put the hidden paper clip in, even though I am pretty sure you could figure this out for yourself. But I thought, look, I'll just keep the last one and show you. I've got a little bit of, you can see I've got just a nice little hint of glitter on this now. I don't know if the camera's going to catch it. It's so dull and grey here today. I also added this little mushroom because I just felt this patch was just a little blank and boring. So I found this mushroom. I thought that was a great addition. And then to glue the hidden paper clip in, you simply take your glue and put it nice and close to the edge. Not too much, because you'll have way too much spitting over the side, but you want to make sure you're gluing right up close to the edge so that the corners and things, when you try and slide it onto your journal page, it doesn't clip and get caught. And then make sure, of course, you use quite a bit of glue around your actual paper clip. Then I pop it down, and then what I do is just make sure I've got it nudged right up, but not directly on the fold. You need a little bit of give space so this side can come over. And then you simply glue this down exactly the same way. There we go. Don't have to worry so much about the center as long as you've got a really good dose around the edge. Then you press that down nice and firmly, and this is why, of course, I put the baking paper in there. And then I like to paper clip mine shut just for a few minutes to make sure that's all nicely glued through. And then in a few minutes, when it's dry, you just gently nudge out the baking paper. It comes out with ease because the glue doesn't adhere to it like it does to cardstock. But I have made hidden paper clips before without the baking paper, and I've damn well ended up gluing the two bits together because a bit of glue sort of got stuck and I didn't realize. So that's why I use the baking paper, and in a few minutes I'll simply shimmy this piece out and they're all done. So there we go. These will now go off to my swap partner, and March is complete. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you joined the club here. I do paper crafting and paper planning videos. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.